Well, yo, and hello. Welcome to the ETWcast. My name is Charles C. Gaines, and I am here with my partner, Steve Norris, who is in the Philippines. And here in just a second, I want you to give a quick update because you have moved since last
Correct.
show we did. And I want to know how that went, just a little bit of insight of what it's like to hop islands and, kind of why you did that and what's good about where you are now. You look fantastic. I don't know if the move just completely reinvigorated you, or you just look very well rested and well fed and just all around good.
A new light.
Oh, it's just a new light. That's all it takes. That's
I
all
am
it
well
takes.
fed though. I have to say they feed you well here, so that's not a problem.
Everywhere you go, they're like trying to give you seconds and hey, you need some
Oh,
more.
yeah. You don't want to be rude, so you just keep going. Okay, I'll try some of that. I'll try some of that.
That's called a mercy eating. You realize that now?
Well,
Oh,
man. So yeah, I moved from Bacolod to Batangas, which is on a completely different island. And Batongas is on the same island of Luzon, which is where the capital of Manila is. And she's got half of her family there, and the other half was in Bacolod. But all of the kids, because we have a daughter, Gabby, that has lots of friends and cousins that are there, and that's a big part of it. Now, what's interesting is most people in the Philippines grow up speaking three languages. So they learn English in school, and they also speak Tagalog as the national language, but then each region has their own regional language. So when they were with me in Bacolod, what they found was there's a local language that is Ilonggo or Hiligaynon, and they would have to learn a new language. So it's on me really to learn just Tagalog if we move here, versus them having to learn a dialect. So it was a lot of pros and cons. But what cracked me up was I literally had rented a desk space. I didn't need a full office because of the remote type operations we're doing and then outsourcing. So I rented a desk space in an office that had a really solid internet connection around 90 Mbps and a generator backup. Real big deal so that you never go down. And that cost was 4,000 pesos a month. To translate into dollars, it's around $85 roughly for just like a space for your desk. Pretty reasonable, right? I mean, you can't get okay. When we moved to Batangas, the rent for her entire apartment that she already had that was up here was $4,000 a month. Not a big place. Probably, I would say it's a split level, probably 1,200 square feet total, something like that. 4,000 pesos. So 80 less than $100 a
okay.
month for
And
rent.
maybe I heard wrong. I'm glad you correct. I thought you said $4,000. You meant pesos. Therefore,
Pesos.
that's insane. That's
Yeah, the
what?
exchange rate is around 47 to 1 right now.
And how
So
much? How much was the square footage again?
probably around 1,200, something like that. They do everything meters, and I still get confused on that. But yeah,
Wow,
so
that's
it's
insane.
you know the expectation of space here is just a lot different. The homes are much smaller. You realize that as Americans, you're very spoiled with how much room you have, how many rooms you have, and it's very different. And so it's been interesting. So when I showed up in the Philippines, I had two suitcases. Well, you start to stay anywhere for a while. You start to accumulate things because, like with anything, you go, well, I could ask to borrow it, which is maybe a little uncomfortable. I could rent it, but if I rent it twice, I've probably paid for it. So you just go, it just makes sense to get it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
fast forward from
let me add
March
to that
to
though. Knowing you the way I do, even when you're here in the States, you like to accumulate things. Let's just say it that way. I'm not saying you're a hoarder. I'm not saying you that at all. I'm not trying to bust you, but you are one of my buddies that I remember one time it was like, hey, dude, you like camping? Sure, I like camping. Yeah, you might like it. Well, I got like 150 tents. Would you like one? I was like, what? What? Who has
that was
150
that was
tents?
a, that was a business opportunity. That's all that
Oh,
was.
okay. Okay.
So that was liquidation.com, which was they had a location nationwide in Garland near Dallas Fort Worth, Texas, and they had auctions, and all their stuff was either brand new, returns, unopened, or closeout merchandise, and they would sell it by the pallets, and you would put a bid on it. So I got these tents for $2 a piece. So the first thing, of course, I'm gonna do is bless family with going, hey, I got camping gear. You want some? But of course, I went along the road of downloading or reserving a camping domain and was playing with the idea of having a camping store. And the reality was, I ended up the timing was not right for that. So I ended up giving a lot of people tents, including homeless people, and yeah, so that worked out really well.
That was pretty cool. I still remember that story. That was good stuff.
But yeah, that was insane to have as many tents as I had.
So what you're saying is your simple move got to be a little more complex because you had a few more things than you actually thought, right?
Yeah, just the conveniences of life. You find that you kind of go, if you rent a place and it's not furnished, you got to have somewhere to put your clothes. For me, maybe I'm okay living out of a suitcase, but you're going to ask your significant others to do the same.
Gotcha.
And then, you don't. So you get a couple dressers, you get some conveniences, you pick up a little bit of computer equipment. You're like, well, we probably should have a TV. Well, since the price of TV is so reasonable, we should probably get a big one.
No, of course. Yeah.
So before you know it, you have enough for what is equivalent of like a 16-foot U-Haul to bring to another island. Now, so between the islands, they have large ferry boats they refer to as ro-ros, and you load up. It was a 17-hour trip, and I got some great pictures from that. But basically, you can reserve a room, or it's almost like there's these big open rooms of bunk beds that have like a pad on them that you can sleep, and that's your deal for 17 hours. You get to enjoy laying in your bunk bed like you're in almost like military style sleeping in a Navy vessel. If you've seen those rooms where you kind of have the bunk beds, it's somewhat like that. Maybe slightly more room, slightly more comfortable, but.
Did you do that overnight?
Yeah, it was overnight. So we left at noon and showed up around 5 a.m. I think the next day. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And then just drove your car right off like any other ferry?
The moving truck guy did. He moved his off, and we had a ride waiting for us from family to get there, and then we purchased a car once we got here. So.
And the city, the name of the city again, one more time? What was it?
It's Batangas.
Batongas. And so a little smaller, a little more remote, but similar. Yes. I mean, it's normal conveniences. I mean, do you have?
I'm exploring. I don't have a full answer on that yet. It's definitely smaller than Bacolod. So their nearest large mall that we would be accustomed to is, I think, an hour and a half away, driving, something like that. But they have a bunch of smaller malls.
Yeah.
With most of what you need. So there's the Ace Hardware. There's your grocery stores, some of your appliance stores, things like that. Yeah,
that's cool. Well, the internet seems to be good.
Yeah, it's roaring around 90. We have a fiber connection here, so that was part of the bait. She's like, well, if you come to my place,
that was the final. Oh, you got me. You had me at 90, right?
The Bacolod had become my hometown here in the Philippines. But if you have a choice of where to pick for long term, you have to weigh all those pros and cons and go, well, family, cost of living,
right,
better internet, whatever it might be. But seriously, to be paying rent for under $100 a month, it feels like you're cheating.
That's insane. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about, how that fits into money-making opportunities, how to build a lean and mean business. But I don't know if any of us can compete with $100 a month rent for 1,200 square feet. But that's awesome, and we wish you the best, and we're looking forward to some stories and maybe some pictures and videos to drop in. It'll be kind of fun. So if anybody has questions or they want some more information about what it's like living over in the Philippines, definitely hit Steve up. He'd love to tell you a little bit about that. And so we're excited, man. So let's talk about. I think tonight we talked about last week that. One of the things that has also exploded is that is the choices that are out there now in relation to what used to be more referred to as white labeling, and I'll speak to that just a little bit about from my experience. But now the term is more of a PLR, private label
ready.
So the point being, these products are immediately good to go. They've been, they're royalty free, or that's been negotiated in what you can do with these products. But there's nothing keeping you from selling them. So let me give you just a little bit of background. Again, I have experience with a more traditional agency in the States. And so I'm familiar with, representing my clients and creating brands for them. And obviously, most entrepreneurs are familiar with the ability to, you go into a store and I think you realize that not every one of those products was produced by that company. And obviously cars are a prime example where you've only got a couple of manufacturing plants, but they're producing vehicles under many different brands. And really that same concept holds true. And so hotels are another one. A lot of them are just brands that fall under a larger brand and whatnot. So that concept, I think, more than ever has trickled down to just the small business owner or the entrepreneur who wants to get in business for himself, but has no idea. They haven't invented anything. They don't own anything. And so we'll talk a little bit about what's out there and what can be done, but when is it a good time to consider a private label or a white label, and what are some of the marks of getting into that? And then when are sometimes you want to just stay away from it? What are some of the cons of that as well? So we don't have a real regimented, PowerPoint, outline to follow. I think we're going to kind of free flow this a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, Steve, to kind of start us out and talk about your background. I know you had an interesting journey last year where you were looking up a lot of different resources, and you just kept coming across whether they were platforms that could be leveraged. And then one of the kind of, if you were mining, you hit a pocket, you hit a gusher. And I remember you contacted me and said, you're not going to believe some of the resources that are out there now and how easy it is. The tough part is trying to figure out which one to pick and what to do with it. Can you speak just a little bit about that journey and what you found and where you think the state of these private label possibilities or opportunities are?
Absolutely. I would say, back from our prior business dealings together, we ran across, before, for me, I always considered white label really to be software related. And that was, hey, we've got a product, and we did it with apps. We had an app maker, and you can either make some apps for yourself, but if you want to make it for customers, do you want to remove our branding as a manufacturer? You want to private label it. You want to make it look like you actually own a software making platform that you can make apps yourself. And that way you can name it whatever you want. And then it's up to you with however a dynamic marketer you are that you can brand it yourself so they don't ever go around you and go to the supplier, but go to you. And that way you control the pricing. You can negotiate your items in bulk, and then you can have retail pricing, which is fantastic. And in my research, so I got quarantined here last March. They shut down all travel between islands, all travel in and out. And at that time it was like, well, okay. It had me thinking a little bit quicker to the end game, because my goal was to live over here in eventuality anyways, but this has expedited the process of kind of going, I need a business that can operate online. I can operate from anywhere doing what I do. And the business that I'm in right now already, as you know, we can do it from anywhere. It's helpful to have an on-site presence to really get to know a customer and to do certain things with them, but then can you go turn it online? And as everyone has gone through being quarantined, there are so many more opportunities that are coming to light. And so literally in doing the research, you run across some amazing resources. And some of those are PLR sites. They actually sell private label ready material. Now that can be for anything. There is software out there that you can private label for yourself, but there's also marketing material, software programs, things that would help you sell your product. And so what you see out there is a ton of guys going, hey, I've got this. If you take my course, I'm going to include this, 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 and this. It's going to be a Facebook masterclass, an Instagram masterclass. It's going to show you how to do Google AdWords. And so literally what you're having a chance to do is really tap into products that are ready to market. You can put your logo on. You can go in once you have the private label ability and go in there and in some cases modify the content and customize it to what is appropriate for your business. Things like Facebook, Google AdWords, some of those things can change at the speed of light. And so some of the material you may run across may not be 100% up to date just because of their most recent changes. So that's always good to go through and do. But the categories are just absurd. And when we were looking at providing additional value for our clients, and part of our audience are guys that are doing what we do, and they're using Facebook ads, Google ads to reach out to people. And one of the things that's really important that we've learned is you want to build your list of people who have interest in what you're doing, whether that's email, Facebook Messenger, whatever, to do that. And some of those hooks to grab people is free resources that you can give them that are professionally produced with valuable information. And so we've got memberships, some sites that you can take a look at, and there's a dozen great ones out there. Some better than others. Some are one-time fees. Some are monthly recurring. So IDPLR is one that we've got access to, and you just look at the number of resources there. It's fantastic. And we put together a campaign recently that I'll turn that over to you and you kind of explain what we were using as a hook.
Yeah, what Steve's referring to is one of the best ways you can use content like this. I mean, step one might be to go through some of these and find an actual product that you feel like I can sell. And there are tons of those. In this case, again, this is just one resource. It happens to be, I believe, one of the top resources. I've been around a lot longer, so we would recommend this. Maybe we can put a link into our descriptions for that. But obviously,
IDPLR.
Yeah, IDPLR. I want to say they had a different name before that, and they've kind of evolved. But it's a great place to begin for sure. And so you can see all the different things that are already packaged and ready to go. So I mean, you could go, you can get them at different levels. So whether there are certain rights involved or whether it's like if you've ever gone out and tried to get stock photography or stock video, there's different levels of that kind of stuff. But where I was going with that, what I think Steve wanted me to highlight was there's kind of a couple of major tracks you can go, and that's one of them is find a product and go sell it. You feel like, hey, this is something that fits in my wheelhouse. It's complementary to what I'm doing, and therefore I think I can build an audience around X, Y, or Z and literally sell those products as mine. I can change the graphics on the front end, and it can be one of my products. Boom. And if you're a good marketer and you can start to get the cash register to ring, now you've got some capital to work with. And so a lot of the ways we would recommend you using the private label route, and that's to get a business off the ground. Sometimes a lot of the videos you see make it seem like, hey, I can just open up a Shopify store and immediately people are going to start buying my stuff. And it takes a while to get entrenched into the system, for lack of a better word. There's a lot of different things you're going to want to get in place to be able to build an audience. And so sometimes to get there, you've got to either find a way to finance yourself between here and there, but also to build an audience. So one of the things we did is we went through here and found areas that were complementary to what we were doing. And then once we had a valuable, let's say that we had an ebook, it was a 70-page ebook about how to become a social media influencer. So off the top of my head, Steve, do you remember the URL that we went with on that? Affiliate influencer.
Good question. We have lots of. There you go.
Here we go. Influencertools.info. Is that the one we did? Okay.
I think that's it.
So we found a book, an ebook over here, and so we built a fairly quick web page or a funnel to be able to sell that. So we found a URL that worked. Did a little bit of SEO, but you can see we built a little company around it, or at least a little business proposition for a niche that we thought we could tap. And we thought that there'd be a lot of people out there that want to be taught how to better become an influencer. So we've got this content. We put a value on it of $40, $50. Oh, on this case, I'm sorry, $25. This is a $25 book for 70-page guide. So now we've created a value, perceived value out there, and all that you get from it. And then we've got it out there. And if people buy it, great, wonderful. Our biggest use for it was to have value that when we gave it away as part of a bigger package, we could get connectivity. So as Steve mentioned, what we would do is go out on Facebook or Instagram or just different avenues and say, hey, are you interested in becoming a social media influencer? If so, click here. And then we were able to engage with them because they wanted the free book. And so we probably spent, all told, right around $200 over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, and got almost 60 people connected, and to where we could, everything was automated. and they clicked through it and got the information they wanted and were able to download the PDF. And you say, well, I mean, you didn't make, yeah, but we've now have 60 people that are now part of our list in just a short period of time. Really, we were averaging about 5 a day and only spending, I want to say we had a cap of $25 per day on our budget. And so, we could just let that run and add 5 a day is what we were averaging. And that adds up pretty quick.
That was a very targeted list, by the way. So that cost per lead, essentially, a very qualified, very specific person is actually a really good deal. So for a lot of people, they might go, well, you don't have thousands of people on your mail list. No. We don't want thousands of people. We want very targeted, very specific people that are qualified and like-minded. And that's the goal on that.
Great point. No, yeah, great point. Yeah, you're talking about people. This is not just anybody. These are people that were targeted, even in our ad buy. And that's one of the things we love so much about Facebook advertising is you can get so granular. And so we had it pared down pretty well. And so again, now we've got those folks that we can turn back around and market to for other services. And we want to come back in and do a webinar and charge for it, or if we want to have products that we're going to gear strictly to those that want to be influencers. You're going to go ahead.
The other thing we bring up was a lot of the guys that are doing stores are using material like this for one-click upsells. So one of the guys we brought up before, Peter Prue, that had the fishing lure business, he put some PLR material on there of how to catch the biggest fish type thing, and you can do a one-click upsell. Once they've completed their transaction and go, hey, do you want to do this for $10? Yeah, let's do it. Well, if you've already bought it and you own the rights to it, that's pure profit. It's a digital product, which is a fantastic way to up your sales. So there's, standalone product giveaways as value, and then also for upsells. And it's, and then the other thing is, you and I are experts in several different areas, but part of what anybody who's busy and has somewhat of a successful business going is there's a lack of time. And so if I were to research something, some of this stuff is actually fantastic educational material, but if I had to write something from scratch, imagine you and I trying to sit down and write a book right now. That just may not be in the cards with our current schedule. But if you have a chance to kind of go, you know what, this is actually pretty good, but I'm going to tweak it. It may be a fantastic starting point for you to write your book type thing, is because it's got a lot of material, and you basically, it's the legal way to go, help me fill in my volume, but let me go back through the table of contents, move some things around, add my wording, add my unique spin on some things, and now you've got yourself a very unique offering. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I think there's probably some folks here that are like having a mind-blowing moment, and they're like, I was always wondering how these people could crank out books or software, and I know that's not in their wheelhouse, or how in the world did they have time for it? This is how they're doing it.
Right.
This is how, or maybe they found somebody on Fiverr, or they found somebody that could ghostwrite for them. A lot of them are not doing it themselves. But here's an example. I just went to, I want to say I was in weight loss and metabolism. If that's your thing, or your thing is yoga or whatever, you can significantly augment what you're doing, and you can use this as it's a value added. There's nothing magical about it. These folks have created this content, and they're getting paid on it, and it's part of that whole process of that ecosystem. But I'll just say that a lot of them, they're all a little different, but you can click on here and see what all comes with it. Most all of them come with all the graphics you need. I mean, they've done all the hard work. There's stuff. There's videos for some of them. There's content for e-blasts and the whole 9 yards. So that's another. When you go through it, you might pick one because it's got a lot more support material that comes with it. So
some of these even have basically made for you web pages ready to go, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all the elements to build a web page very fast. I mean, you could get into something like this and then have something up and running within just a couple of days, and you're literally going. And so those are the kind of things that you want to build quickly and get more trout lines out in the water. So Steve, what are some of these go for? Was it pretty expensive to get a membership with some of these folks?
Typically what you find, I'm looking for their pricing on here. While we're talking, I'm kind of going, where's your price, guys? Now,
they had a registration. Obviously, I'm sure we could do a Google search that compared some of
You know
these
what?
services and their prices. I want to say you went ahead and did an annual. It wasn't too much, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I put it in our website. Let me.
How about so less than $100, you get lifetime access? Am I reading that correctly? Is that insane?
Yeah, that's what's really absurd. So I've got the share screen thing going. You want to swap over real quick?
Absolutely.
Let me see if I've got. Okay, so I did a quick search once I was inside, and so yeah, typically services like this, some of them are you can pay monthly, you can pay annually, and then you can pay sometimes lifetime deals. Every one of these sites is different, but this particular one, I'm pretty sure we paid for the lifetime deal. And this actually has an affiliate program as well. So on that front page, you can see the quantity of items they have, like articles. If you're wanting to write articles for your blog, for instance, you got a ton of stuff ready to go. Um, I haven't explored even a fraction of what these guys have, but as you get down to the bottom, you see that they do have an affiliate program. If you're interested, you've got requests that you can do. Just fantastic stuff. But I did a quick search for. I just plugged in Facebook. What do you have related to Facebook? And immediately you see different marketable items ready to go. Most of them are basically digital book, and some of them look pretty fascinating. You're kind of going, disconnect or reconnect. The ad secrets advanced. Those are the type of things that when it's already done for you, done for you. That's one of the big things in the industry. This is fantastic. Facebook Messenger marketing. This is so powerful right now. If we were to take a look at this and combine this with some other things we're doing, we may find that this may tell 80% of the story of exactly what we want to be able to share with people. It's incredible. And what you charge for it is completely up to you. So there was Facebook. I picked something random. I typed in keto, which is, one of the hotter topics that seems to come and go in the last couple of years. And you have everything related where they put keywords here. You're going to go, okay, there's a bunch of stuff. So there's almost anything that you are an expert in, you can find PLR material to supplement what you're doing to bring value to your audience. And the goal is, of course, when you can bring value to the audience and you are a trusted partner of information, you are invited back into their living room to share some more things in the future. And that's part of building an online business, is that when you have a new product, you're going, guys, I've given you a ton of value over the last several years, and trust me when I say you've got to do this. When you know a person that has steered you in the right direction for a long time, and they're like, you have got to buy Bitcoin right now because it's going to do this, then suddenly that guy has your attention.
Right.
Right. But it's Ethereum right now. It's not Bitcoin.
And we're right there with you. We're on that journey right now. So we're looking forward to sharing, our failures and our successes and our tips and what we find along the way. Again, you're talking about, two guys who have spent their lives, their careers, doing it the old-fashioned way. And then in my case, when the internet came out, got involved in building websites and writing them in HTML and Dreamweaver, and then rode the wave of the Squarespaces and the Wix and the WordPress sites and everything, and it's just exploding right now. So we're continuing on this mission, this voyage, but we're taking some of these strategies that we've learned and putting them into practice, and they are holding up. We feel like what we're going to be bringing to our audience is a balance of kind of old school experience with new school opportunities, and just the speed at which you can pivot and take advantage of opportunities are just insane. So Steve said something a minute ago that I want to highlight. When you're in a marketplace and an economy that is driven almost primarily by content, quality content, resources like this are huge. Again, you're competing with other companies that have staffs of writers and content creators, and there are people that's just their job. If you could at least get into the game with stuff like this and maybe manage 2 or 3 brands, because you can go and find, 15,000 articles about a certain topic. Think about the power that can give you from, oh my gosh, I know I need to have a blog, but number one, I'm not a good writer. And number two, who has time to write? And how can I afford to hire somebody if I hire somebody over in India and I can't do the language barrier, and on and on and on. And therefore, you've got a blog on your website that's just stagnant. It gets posted once a month and there's really no SEO to it or anything. But if you have the ability to go, whether yourself or with a virtual assistant, and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I want one every other day. And here are the ones that I've looked at that are quality. And here's where you're going to go get them, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Now, all of a sudden, 30 days go by and you've got some significant skin in the game. You know, you're getting some of those backlinks, and you're getting, you know, metadata that's starting to churn in the system, and all of a sudden your stuff's starting to pop up to the top. And so that was a big eye opener to me when I saw how much just raw content that I could get on certain subjects that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, some of this stuff, because it's in this form and you subscribe to it, you can tweak it a little bit without getting in trouble, right? I mean, you could use one of their articles to give you inspiration to either write your own or to, you know, massage it, you know, as long as everything's legit. But I mean, there's no reason you can't. It's like going out and getting access to I want to say clip art, but that's a dirty word. But going and getting Canva, and you go get some of that stuff and you start tweaking it as your own and make it your own. That's the world we live in, you know. And so, you know,
the only thing I would say on that is they have some compliance stuff, and it's going to maybe be different by product or level of purchase. And so just to have the person research that. But, you know, what's so amazing is, you know, we've been in marketing long enough that you kind of, once you know how to market, you can change products and you can start to market something else, because the process is basically the same. So there's never been an easier time to become an expert than with all of the information online. So if I have an issue with my car and I want to replace my side view mirror, I literally can watch a YouTube video and figure out how to do that myself. That's crazy. Well, if I want to become a keto expert because I see that blowing up and I want to get into that game, I literally have access to a bunch of incredible material that I can tweak to make my own. I can read for a few days straight, and I can become a relative expert in the material very, very quickly. And so it really allows you, with the scalability of marketing and niches and how closely you can dial in your audience, you can be very, very targeted, very, very quick with some fantastic material. Absolutely. So it's a fantastic resource.
And we're not saying that that's a substitute for experience and getting in there and doing it. But I think if you're, I think what Steve's saying is, if you're honest and transparent with your audience, again, when information explodes as exponentially as it has, none of us can keep up with it all. And I think about how you go about trying to get information. You've got everything coming at you. You've got a family to raise and a job to keep and business and, you know, family, trying to juggle everything. There's just not enough time in the day to keep up with everything and be an expert at it at all. And so people are looking for other people to help vet information for them. And that's a service, and that's worth something. It's very much worth something. So you can continue to expand your worth to the marketplace by having more of that content and being able to do that. So, and I think you just let people know, this is what I do, and here's what I have to offer. I'm not claiming to have been, you know, a nutritionist for 20 years and I know everything about keto, but here's what I do know, and here's what I do want to share, and here's my personal experience. You know, I've gone up and down with my weight and XYZ and blah, 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 whatever your story is. And then you're giving them valuable information. Nothing wrong with that. Would you agree? Absolutely.
Oh, sure. Nothing can replace going through ketosis yourself, you know.
Right.
That's the rubber meets the road. But that was just an example of, hey, you know, if you're suddenly faced with, I need to reinvent myself, or what am I going to market now? And you decide it's going to be the newest Ford sports car. You're going to read up and you're going to get all your marketing material that you can put together, and you're going to go in whatever direction that happens to be. So that's what's fascinating, is this digital world moves so quickly that there is a flavor of the month every month for every niche. So
again, we highly recommend you look into this. This may not be something that fits. We just feel like it's hard not to. If you dig in and you see the volume of information, again, we just hit one or two sites and went through there. Take some time on your own to poke around. Again, we'll try to put some links up there. And again, this is the kind of stuff that we want to provide you guys over time, to where you don't have to do all that research yourself. You can, come to East to West and say, look, I need what's some of the best ones. Where can I start? And so we'll try to make that easy. If you want to email us, DM us or whatever, give us a shout. We'll help in any way we can. But I think our recommendation and our encouragement is to check it out and see what they have. If nothing else, I think it's going to spur some of your creativity, and it may give you some ideas for things you never even thought were possible before. So I would say this: if you know yourself and you're prone to, if you have a little ADD, be careful, because you could go down a rabbit trail and then come back and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get into molecular, biology all of a sudden, and I'm off chasing this rabbit." But if you can have a little discipline and go in there and just see what's there, I think you'd be surprised. You're going to come up with some creative ideas. Again, if nothing else, if you use it for a resource to have value, to give to your prospective customers, to engage them, just to give them value and say, hey, look, I'm not here to, I don't want to just take, I want to give to the community, and let's build a relationship. And then once we have rapport and you have trust, when I say something, I think you're going to be more apt to listen, and you're going to feel like I have your best interest in mind. So at a minimum, I think it's worth doing that. Steve, do you have any last thoughts or any advice for the average entrepreneur of how they might leverage this or how they might get started?
I would say explore it, see if it's a fit and a benefit for what you've got going on. It's a fantastic place for content. And in the world of needing to be constantly creating content and be in front of your audience so that you stay relevant to them. And when you do have something that's, there are a lot of marketers that say, listen, I will do marketing campaigns and I'll spend $100,000 to get this list of 300,000 people, and I'm okay making no money on it. The reason I'm willing to do that is because when I have that 300,000 list and I do my next program and I do my next live event, I already know what the statistics are. I'm going to get this percentage that's going to show up. This is $1,000 program. And then from there, I'm going to have some people sign up for my 5-day event, and we're going to go in depth, and that equals this. And so I spent $100,000 on ad, but the reality is it's going to equal $3 million in revenue. They already know this. And so I would just say, look at some of this material with the end in mind, with the big picture, and with your overall strategy, whether it's going to be to supplement what you've got. Is it giveaways? Is it upsells? That type of thing. And just to build your audience and to bring value to the marketplace.
That is probably worth saying also as we kind of wrap this up a little bit. And that's, collectively, we're not suggesting that this is your ticket to millions. We think it's a brick in that continued road that you're building. It's a key piece that can be used in a bigger picture. And I think if we're going to say it 100 times, and that think about where it is you're trying to get to, that thinking with the end in mind is huge, that Steve mentioned. And this is a way to help get you there. And we hope you find some avenues that you did not know were possible, and really give it a try. It's again, the cost benefit ratio is perfect. And I think you can spend a little extra time and come up with some huge value. Steve, we normally like to do a weekly recommend. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. May not have gotten one. I have one that I can put out there just very simply, without going into a whole lot of depth. And maybe while I'm doing that, you might think a little bit about something else that you've used recently that you might want to recommend. What I'm going to recommend is a domain company. As you know, there's tons out there, and this is one of those things where you tend to get entrenched in one. When you pick one, you tend to stay with it. I've got a lot of business with GoDaddy over the years. I've done several others. There's some good quality registers out there. I just want to pitch Epic, and full disclosure, in a sense, I'm stealing Steve's thunder because he's the one that found this and told me about it. And instantly I took to it. I would log in, but you'd see all the stuff behind the curtain, and I'd rather not do that. But very user-friendly, very easy to get around. The prices are phenomenal. And I've found just using their control panel to be just a pleasure. And things move very, very quickly. And I think they've got some good support. So I just give them high marks across the board. It's Epic, EPIK.com. Again, you can see, I mean, on average, unless it's, I mean, people are sitting on URLs all over the place. And that's kind of an evil, necessary evil, but they do a good job of telling you that right up front. They have a service where you can pay them a fee and they'll sit on it, which sometimes that's worth it. It's worth 50 to 100, 150 bucks to say, look, when that domain, I want you there on my behalf. I want a flag in the system that says, because I want to catch it. If it accidentally gets free, I want to nab it, which is a cool feature. But most of them, I've been paying less than, it's been somewhere around anywhere from $1.99 to $9.99 for pretty good URLs. And so I highly recommend epic.com is my weekly recommend. Steve, you got
for the amount of domains I usually have at least 50 myself at any given time. So when you add that up at GoDaddy prices at renewal, when you switch over to Epic, it's actually a substantial difference. You just kind of go, wow, I don't ever use GoDaddy to reserve a new domain again.
And they've got the whole apples to apples. It's the same thing, right? Hosting, the whole nine yards.
Now I don't ever use GoDaddy hosting, so I can't speak intelligently to that. But what I intentionally always have my domain hosting separate than my web hosting. I never wanted all my
eggs in one basket. Yeah, eggs.
Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen. What I'm going to touch on is related to social media. And one of the challenges with anybody right now who's doing content is to put you can almost become an expert in a single social media platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat. There's all these different places that you can become an expert and actually really dominate. Now, early on, there were some fantastic software platforms like a Hootsuite that would allow you to post to multiple platforms at one time, but also schedule out your content in advance. What's really helpful about that is, if you get really in the mode of creating content, you can spend a finite amount of time and create content for a whole month in advance. You can make videos and then chop it up into different segments, which is something we're probably going to do with these segments, is to break it up into different things for that purpose, so you have that marketing material. When I click on this, you can see over on the right hand side, these are the networks that they can push your post to all the same time, and you can schedule in advance. So I've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google My Business, Pinterest, and TikTok. When we were looking at who to use for ourselves with some different businesses, what we found was there's the kind of the big 4 or 5 you see pretty common: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google My Business. Those are pretty common to see on platforms right now. Pinterest and TikTok on the same platform is not something we've been seeing. And so these guys have a pretty nice, easy to use platform. I recommend checking it out. The pricing for what you get, very reasonable. So if you're actually using it, you can start here at the $25 a month. And if you're making any content and you've got some business going, $25 a month to schedule all your stuff for months in advance, it's huge. And you can tie your Facebook ad accounts to this. It's got some analytics and supports. You can have 3 people. One of the things we touched on a little bit earlier was white labeled. You can see on the basic level that it's not available. But then once you get over to the small team, you can actually white label this. So if you are handling social media for customers, you can now tap into this and put your name on it as your company, as a marketing agency, and give them this same capability. Now, you don't need to share with them exactly that with a touch of one button. You can post to all platforms. They can be like, I don't know how you do it. You log into Twitter, and then you log into Facebook, and you log into Instagram. You do all this for us. That's amazing. It's only $1,000 a month. I'll take it. So it's I'm exaggerating for fun, but the fact is you can have up to 50 social media accounts on that particular level. That's a lot. So you can handle several customers and everything that they need, and build not only your list, your viewership, but your customers' viewership. And that's part of what we're interested in too. Is some of our clients, they don't do any business. They're business to business. They don't do hardly anything on social media. But some of them, their entire bread and butter is on social media. It's huge. It's got to be tip top, and it's got to be professional. And when you can do this and you can schedule things in advance, to constantly have stuff popping on people's feeds to keep in front of them, it's a big deal. It really is.
Excellent. Good stuff. Listen, before we sign off, I want to request, if you're seeing this video, seeing us maybe for the first time or whatever, we've got a new Facebook page up for East to West Creations. Would love for you to go head over there and like it and follow us there. We try to put great information there as soon as we can. We'd love to get feedback. That's a great place to post questions. We will try to answer your questions immediately. Right now, one of the things that we're promoting is a service for Facebook messaging to set up automated sequences and bots to really engage with your audience and do some incredible targeted stuff. The numbers, we'll probably do another show just on Facebook Messenger and the power right now. Billions and billions, 10 billion exchanged messages a day. Insane. That's just an insane number. And the open rate's nuts as well. So if you do get a chance, there we are live. It's kind of crazy. We can watch the lag there. That's kind of crazy. Please go over and like the page and engage. We want to build a community over there. So we'd like to have you go to ETW Creations on Facebook. Steve, thank you again for your time. Do you have any last minute words of wisdom or anything you want to say before we sign off and do this again next week?
You caught me. I don't have anything right now.
Man, at that.
Go Lakers.
Go Lakers. This is Super Bowl. This is pre-Super Bowl weekend. Do you have a dog in the hunt, or do you want to see Tom Brady get his 28th Super Bowl ring? Or
that would be cool to see. I probably won't watch. For some reason, I gave up on watching football years ago. You know, when I had 4 kids, I chose to follow one sport a year, and mine was NBA basketball, because I watched too many dads go from one sport to one to all year round, and we're just not available. And I thought, well, I'll just be a bad dad for just part of the year. So mine was NBA basketball.
Not necessarily mean you're a bad dad, but I do applaud the thought process for sure. So, and by the way, right now the NBA is a dirty word around here. My Mavericks have dropped 6 in a row, and it's pretty hard right now. And we blame it all on COVID. It's all about COVID. So if we were on a 6-game winning streak, we wouldn't. So we're just the way it is. But anyway, with that in mind, I would say hasta la vista. Glad you're getting moved in. Hope you love your new digs, and we are looking forward to doing this again next week. Thanks so much for joining us. Stephen, take care of yourself, my friend.
See you next time.
All right, Thanks. You too, buddy. Take